Wake up, Toronto. Wait, hold on. What day is it? Wednesday. Oh, yes. Happy midweek. Sometimes life gets blurred with so much going on and shifting of focus that you forget what day it is. Or the week just flies by, and on Friday you're looking at the calendar thinking, holy crap, where did the time just go? Happens to me so much more often nowadays compared to when I was much younger. And I think some of you guys can relate to this when you're in school and you know the weekend's around the corner and you have like the 2 days to do basically nothing, or maybe you have some fun activities planned or a birthday party, whatever it is, to recharge before the Monday that was hell would hit again. As an adult, I gotta say, there are no such things as days off unless it's intentional and you're gonna take a vacation or a couple weeks off to go somewhere nice and reset and align yourself before you come back and you're immersed in the chaos all over again. And it's just a whole big nightmare. But I feel like a little bit of your happiness dies inside with all of that stress. And that's the reason for, I feel like, these wrinkles appearing. So forget science. There's no signs of getting old. In my books, I think it's a sadness that is making you age. So if you stay happy and positive, which it's kind of hard for adults to do 24/7, then, you'll be glorious. And I think that is the mystery behind being, wrinkle free. I don't know. I hope to believe that. And it's so strange because I think when we're younger, we wish to be all grown up because we see adults get to do whatever they want. They have their own bedtime. They get to eat what they want, drive a car, have all of these fun experiences. And when you get to that time in your life, you're like, I miss the carefree moments where I didn't have to worry about paying a mortgage or my phone bills and having to venture off to the groceries and being exhausted through doing all of those errands and tasks. And then by the time you come home, you're too drained to go out again and just enjoy yourself. So it takes a lot of energy and time, I think, to be an adult. 100%. So what's popping on today's show? Well, last week, some of you all liked me talking about movies because sometimes with all of the options, it's hard to choose what to watch, especially if you're subscribed to multiple service providers like Netflix, Prime Video, or Disney Plus, right? So some of us are forever scrolling, kind of like me. If I had to choose something on the spot, bam, major anxiety. And my husband would literally have to tell me that I've been looking for a movie to watch for over half an hour and I need to pick one ASAP. And so there's also I feel this immense pressure because of having a film degree as well that I should have good judgment when selecting a movie. But let me tell you, a movie cover or title will not be the best way to determine if the movie is a hit or fail. Marketing is a great thing if you have an amazing team behind it, but the movie can be a total thumbs down if you nailed only the marketing. It also comes with the storyline and so much more, right? So there's different layers. And what I do is checking the synopsis, looking at other review sites, and doing a lot of research before I commit to tuning into a movie. And basically, before putting my own review out to you guys, there's a lot that goes into it. So I'm very proud that you guys are looking to me for movies to watch and confide in my opinion. Well, then again, I have to say there are tough critics online, and there's a lot of movies that I've seen that have low ratings, but I actually loved. I thought the plot was genius, the script was just amazing, and the character development and just all of that, right? So don't always believe in the stars that you see online as well. So dig a little deeper, do some research. That's the best advice I can give. But also checking to see who's, again, part of the lineup of the cast. And that's a good indicator of, I guess, the chemistry with the characters, which can make a big difference in the movies. So yes, choosing a movie is a challenge, even with a film background, but I guess I pride myself. Usually 92% of the time, I'm pretty accurate. So I'm giving myself, you can't see me, a pat on the back right now. And my husband has a way of judging if a movie is gonna be good. And I kid you not, this is before the opening titles of the movie with the actors, credits, and whatnot. It's the film company that was used. So if it's like the sign for Universal Pictures, Blumhouse, Lionsgate, Sony, or even Paramount. And his face like lights up and he's like, this is gonna be a damn good movie. And if there's a different, sign of film company that was used that he obviously doesn't recognize, he'll be like, oh, this is going to be mediocre. So he's not familiar with the smaller companies, but like A24, like, wow, it has changed the indie production house game. Like Everything All at Once, highly, highly successful this year with their backing. They've also done Midsommar, Hereditary, The Whale. So I think one day I'm going to sit down with him and teach him more about these film production places and other distribution companies, just so he knows that, hey, there's some kick-ass stuff that they also, produce. Recently, I've been researching films that have been released or set to release, and I make a Google Docs checklist. And that keeps me organized and kind of shows what movies we've already seen, so there's no repetition. And that means I have zero time that I spend searching for movies the night of, because our food tends to sit on the table and it's getting cold because of my indecisiveness, and my husband is whining like those kids in the car saying, are we there yet? But in this case, he's like, have you chosen a movie yet? So completely avoiding that scenario altogether. Now that I'm warmed up, let's talk about art imitating life. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with one of the biggest disasters that's happened in the US earlier this month. Investigations are still ongoing, but let me bring you up to speed. So there was an Ohio train derailment that happened February 3rd around 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 38 cars of a Norfolk Southern freight train carrying hazardous materials derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, in the United States. Officials are saying it was preventable, and it was carrying dangerous chemicals. And the National Transportation Safety Board officials are saying that it was caused by overheated wheel bearing, which was, I think, 253 degrees hotter than the air temperature. Now, BBC reported that nearly 45,000 animals died during this time. And a recent video actually surfaced on Instagram, maybe TikTok as well. The recent video shows ice and frost in a rainbow color on a truck and I believe on pavement, and the title of the video or caption, whatever, reads "Poison Ice in Canada from Ohio Derailment." So people are questioning that maybe from the crash site that it was airborne and it's on our part of the country, and it's concerning for a lot of people. So just to show you some context, I'm going to put the video in now. The news of the train derailment, my brain instantly made a connection. So back in university, for one of my film and literature classes, we read White Noise by Don DeLillo, and a very similar disaster happened. So this book was published, I think, in 1985, shortly after a chemical disaster in Bhopal, India, which killed nearly, I think, 4,000 people. So the book and film follow the fictional Gladney family, which is a couple and their 4 kids, and they're fleeing an airborne toxic event. And then eventually they return home and try to resume their normal lives. So the crash, believe it or not, happened in Ohio as well, which is very scary. And bringing this back to the February 3rd, 2023 incident, officials are saying that all of this was an accident, that it was not done on purpose. But to me, it's like, hold on. How many times, and I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but Simpsons have had events that they mentioned on their episodes, and then years later or shortly after, it happens in real life. And I don't think they have someone who's a psychic that's predicting these things for them on the show. I genuinely think at times these things are done on purpose. And isn't all politics, they have an agenda, really? Which I'm not going to get into anytime soon with that discussion, and usually I avoid it because I just don't click with that space. It has a lot of toxic people in it and just such a negative place to be in. I've covered City Hall many times for news, and I can see the divisiveness in opinions and that fight for power, that hunger that exists. And at the end of the day, is it really about the people? You're better off gaining traction with making a movement on your socials and garnering a following than getting a bill passed here in Canada. So that's the end of my rant with this one, but thought this was one of the many events becoming a reality from initially being fictitious. So it makes you think twice about who is constructing all of this, and should we continue to live in fear? Like, COVID literally took over our entire 4 to 5 years of our lives, and it's still here, but with much less authority over our day-to-day compared to what it was in 2019. On a happier note, the newest rom-com on Netflix called Your Place or Mine had me feeling all kinds of 90s and early 2000s nostalgia. Yes, it's cheesy, honey, and predictable, but it has some of our favorite and popular actors making a comeback. So we have Ashton Kutcher and Reese Witherspoon being best friends, and of course, only that, but soon to realize they actually are in love with each other with those repressed feelings they have. And the movie shifts to show us how they get to that moment in such an unconventional way, but still similar to a dozen movies back in the day where the actors loathe each other until they fall in love. So I guess it's the same but different to mimic today's modern world love story. And can I just also say, Ashton and Reese look freaking amazing. They haven't aged a day, and I found that Ashton keeps getting more handsome as he ages. So it proves this whole theory that fine wine is better as you let it mature. And he definitely is lucky to have Mila Kunis as a life partner, because damn, she's still the same too, super funny. I just love her. And speaking of Mila Kunis, let's talk about a recent red carpet event that Ashton and Reese were on to promote their movie, Your Place or Mine. And people were noticing that the co-stars were not posing together closely. Apparently, it was hands off and it looked awkward. So Mila calls them up to tell them to stop acting weird, as it was noticeable. So Ashton was asked in a following interview about that, and he was like, if he posed with his arms around Reese, people are so quick to say that they were having a thing, something is going on between them, or rumors about his wife and him having problems. But he loves his wife a lot, and he was obviously not wanting stories like that to be printed or thrown out of context. And being the gentleman that he is, in his defense, he kind of kept his distance, and I love that. Because it's true, paparazzis and news outlets do anything for a juicy story or headline for the buzz and readership, of course. And that is something I must admit I hate about the industry that I work for sometimes, because it's that clickbait. It's very vague in the beginning, and majority of it is all crap, misinterpretations of what went on, and no wonder why these places get sued all the time by celebrities. So Your Place or Mine, I will 100,000,000% recommend for those romance lovers. It's definitely better than some of those Hallmark movies, okay? Plus, I started to rewatch that 70s show, and I forgot how damn funny it was. I was rewatching it in lieu of that 90s show, which has recently been released on Netflix, and a lot of the original cast members are returning, even for cameo appearances, excluding, I think, Danny Masterson, who played Hyde, because he has all of those sexual assault allegations and rape kind of in the air with him, and I think the trial's ongoing, so I don't feel like they wanted him to be a part of that, although it would have been great. Now, on Saturday, my husband and I moved from Friday's rom-com genre to horror and sci-fi. Lately, we've been engaging in at least 2 movies over the weekend. After, my shift, you gotta unwind the mind and relax. So there's a movie called Infinity Pool that recently came out. It's in theaters by Brandon Cronenberg, who's a son of famous director David Cronenberg, who you're probably familiar with some of his work, like the 1986 version of The Fly or Videodrome. And he's known for exploring body horrors from visceral transformations and infectious diseases and intertwining that with like psychological disorders. And his son is following in his father's footsteps. And I have to say, with Infinity Pool, guys, there are a lot of flash trigger warnings, and the characters indulge in a lot of drugs, and they get jiggy, if you know what I mean. Loads of nudity, oh my goodness. So it isn't something you can kick back with your parents and watch unless you're cool with them on that kind of level, which, hell to the no. Not a lot of people are, and I know for myself, I'm old school. So if I look at like Bollywood movies today, they've transitioned quite a bit from being all shy and hugging or fake kissing to the real deal. And that makes me super uncomfortable around older brown people that I know, including my parents. And there's so much playing off or looking away you can do, or fast forwarding, that you just decide, let me turn off the movie altogether because Bollywood is turning into Hollywood cinema. Anyway, back to Infinity Pool. It's got the ever talented Alex Skarsgård. I've known him from the HBO days of True Blood, where he played one of the original vampire crew before the whole shebang of the Twilight saga became a thing. That love triangle in True Blood between Sookie, Bill, and Eric were like way better than anything Twilight could have come up with. And just saying. Although, I have to add, Robert Pattinson was kind of cute as Edward. A vampire that sparkles in moonlight is definitely like a new take. The typical storytelling of vampire movies and the genre. So it was unique in that sense. I feel like I'm going off on another damn tangent. So let's reel it back into Infinity Pool. So Alex Skarsgård did such an amazing job, and you may also recognize him from the real action movie called The Legend of Tarzan. And boy, was he like ripped insanely in that movie. Worked really, really hard. Now, Mia Goth, who's also in Infinity Pool, and you may not recognize her at first because she's a blonde in this movie and has an English accent. And that's her natural way of speaking, by the way. But her hair is much darker in the horror movie X and its prequel Pearl, which I recently also saw too. So if you haven't checked out those movies, I totally recommend it. It's, again, a new take on the slasher film, which is very predictable. You probably know, I know what she did last summer or Saw, etc. But there's different reasons why you should check this one out. So Infinity Pool is about a couple, and they go on vacation because Alex Skarsgård is an author and he's writing a second book and needs inspiration. And so they run into another couple and they sort of get talking and they leave the resort for some fun. But at the end of the night, they end up committing an accidental murder by killing someone on the road while driving, okay? And then what happens is, to get out of it, they have to pay to get themselves cloned and watch their clones be killed as justice for the family. Now, here's where things become ambiguous and pretty messed up. I don't want to give too much away, but my husband and I had a tough time following this story. So I have to say, you have to be in the right state of mind. So if you're drunk or smoking something, which you shouldn't, it would be a trippy, wild experience with all those flashing lights and visuals. I did find sort of the narration or storytelling similar to something that David Lynch would do, like in Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive. Very avant-garde at times. Anyway, Mia Goth, who plays that blonde Brit, and for those of you who have seen Pearl, would be able to make this connection. But Mia Goth in Infinity Pool plays an actress for those late night infomercials, where the product fails to work. And in one of the scenes as well, she wears a swagged out pearl dress at a party that they're having. Now, if we compare it to the Pearl movie, her main character dreams of becoming an actress or dancer, and she kind of fails, and her name is Pearl. So I instantly knew perhaps this was done on purpose or was a fun crossover Easter egg kind of a thing in another dimension, maybe. Or I'm probably reading too much into it with my critical film analysis, but I thought it was kind of fun to share. Maybe I should look it up and do some research, but I totally got that reference right away. Now, I'm not sure what 2 movies will be selecting this weekend. I have to go through my list. Maybe it's going to be We Have a Ghost in Our House or Die Hard with Kevin Hart. They seem to both be releasing around the same time, and it would be nice to check them out. Maybe they're super hits. I will report on my findings in the next show. Wow, I can't believe we're almost at the end of our segment. That's just wild. March is literally next week, and it's unbelievable that we're in the 3rd month of 2023. I feel like, during this time of reflection, I've finally headed into the right direction with life and my career, and I truly owe that to my never giving up attitude and faith and, of course, hard work. It's most certainly a mindset thing, and now that I'm settling into the beginning stages of this ongoing change, I do wish so much more for you all too that you can accomplish. And I think it's time to find happiness in things that you love, that you are too scared to go after because A, the lack of resources or help, B, support, and C, encouragement from others. So if you have that drive now, and I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but use that drive as your advantage. And don't think what others are going to think about you, because that will take those strides that you've already made and put you backwards. And why am I saying this? Well, I'm speaking from experience. I've lost so many opportunities because of being a people pleaser, making sure that everyone around me was taken care of and they're doing okay, and checking in on them before I focused on my dreams. And that very little time that I spent on me was like going up a slope really slow and then rolling back down, never making it to the peak because of the little acceleration that I was putting. So it's okay to love humans and be compassionate, but you can't forget about yourself in the process. You don't have to bend yourself backwards to feel like you're doing enough for those you care about, or feel at the back of your mind a bit threatened that you won't receive the love back in return if you don't do the things that you're doing for them. Now, if anyone has those expectations of you, then maybe they are the problem. Perhaps they're happy seeing you in the position that you're currently in and don't want to see you level up. But maybe, guys, those are the wrong types of people you're surrounding yourself with, because that's causing you heartache and pain. But you're just blocking that off, trying hard not to recognize it because you really don't want to face them or reality. But I'm telling you, open your eyes and live for you, not for them. You are no one's servant. No one should be. And if they point out that you're being selfish, I can assure you, you're not selfish. You're shifting your focus to self-love and self-care. And if you can't be present at an event because of work or another important commitment, your loved ones will need to understand. And they will understand without putting up a fuss. And if they don't, and they gaslight you for not being there or guilt trip you into canceling whatever your plans are just to be there for them, that says a lot about how they truly feel about you. Think about it for a second. You have to be understanding when they choose their happiness over being there for you. But if they don't hesitate twice to think of themselves, Why is it so hard for you to do the same? We all face career changes or new hopes enter our life and ambitions, and sometimes that comes with a lot more responsibilities. So time is fleeting in that there is, only 24 hours in a day? You can't be everywhere all at once. So you need to decide how you want this life to play out. You may not be present for every moment that's happy or sad for your friends and family, but your well wishes and love should be enough light for their happiness or their loss that they're experiencing. Now, that's my little motivation, inspo, mantra chat for you today, which brings us to the wrap of this week's Wake Up Toronto. So stay tuned for next week. We've got lots of awesome content coming up, and hope you have an amazing remainder of the week. Much love from me to you always. Mwah. Suzanna, out.